In October 2009, a video is uploaded to YouTube. The clip is less than a minute long, but it causes quite a stir. Some people believe it could be related to a missing person case, a case that few people had heard of until then. 15-year-old Kayla Berg disappeared in Wisconsin in August 2009. At first, it was believed that she had simply run away from home. But it soon became clear that there must be more to the teenager's disappearance. And then this disturbing video appeared.
Hi, Walter. I was at the mall today, and guess what happened? I met the most wonderful girl. We went shopping at JCPenney's, and she tried on a lot of clothes. And she ended up buying a whole lot of them, you know what I mean? And then we decided to go and take a look at some of the jewelry at K Jewelers, and she picked out this most awesome necklace, the most amazing necklace I've ever seen. And I know she wanted me to buy it for her because she kept on looking at me and kept on giving me that look, you know the look. And then we got kind of tired of the mall, and I brought her back to my place. And I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm going to show you her anyways. You ready?
When the video appeared in October 2009, no one seemed interested at first. It wasn't until 7 years later, in 2016, that the video went viral. Suddenly, the video was being shown everywhere, and everyone was wondering what it could be about. A few resourceful internet detectives noticed that the girl at the end of the video bore a resemblance to a girl who had been missing for about 7 years, namely, 15-year-old Kayla Berg from the U.S. state of Wisconsin. She was reported missing 2 months before the video was uploaded. Now there are fears that the video could show Kayla Berg's kidnapper. The lead is taken so seriously that the police even begin investigating the creator of the video. But who is the missing Kayla Berg anyway? And could she really be the girl in the video? Kayla Berg was born in 1993. Her parents, Hope and James, have an older son named Jimmy. Hope also has a son from a previous marriage. When Kayla is a toddler, Hope and James separate. Nevertheless, both retain custody of Kayla and her brother Jimmy. They live mainly with Hope, but are allowed to visit their father James at any time and spend weekends with him. In May 2019, however, Hope and Kayla moved together from Wisconsin to Texas. Kayla's older brothers stayed behind in Wisconsin, as they were already of legal age and able to live on their own. 15-year-old Kayla accompanied her mother to her new home. However, they only lived in Texas for just under 2 months, as Kayla's father James was diagnosed with cancer. Kayla then wants to live near her father again, and her mother grants her wish. So at the end of July 2009, they returned to Wisconsin. Since Hope can't find a new apartment and a job right away, Kayla moves in with her grandparents for the time being. This way, she can be close to her sick father while Hope stays with friends and concentrates on looking for a job and an apartment. At 15, Kayla is in the middle of her teenage years. That's not easy for her anyway, and on top of that, she has to somehow cope with her father's cancer diagnosis. Kayla soon seeks distractions that her parents don't like very much. The girl parties a lot, often with older guys. One of them is Kayla's boyfriend, Miguel Marrero. He is already 19 years old and lives in Warsaw, about a 40-minute drive from Kayla's family in Antigua. He throws parties that Kayla often attends, and she doesn't always tell her parents. On August 10th, 2009, Kayla takes things to the extreme. On this day, Hope and James are sitting at the police station to file a missing person report for their daughter. Kayla had told them she would be sleeping at her friend Natasha's house the night before. However, Natasha told her parents that she would be sleeping at Kayla's house. So, the two girls had obviously lied, and neither of them had come home overnight. Just as the worried parents were at the police station, Kayla and Natasha finally got in touch. It turns out that the two had been at a party in Warsaw the night before. To hide this from their parents, they had pretended to sleep at each other's houses. Kayla's parents are angry, of course, but primarily relieved that their daughter is safe. Just a few days later, Hope and James are back at the police station. They file a missing person report, which remains open to this day. Kayla spends August 11th, 2009 with her friend Natasha again. Other friends are also there in the afternoon. Kayla makes plans to meet a friend named Kevin Kilcheski that evening. She stops by her father's house briefly before Kevin picks her up at around 8:45 p.m. Kayla and Kevin don't have any specific plans. They just want to drive around in Kevin's car for a while. Kevin is good friends with one of Kayla's older brothers. The whole family knows Kevin well. So her parents have no problem with him spending a little time with Kayla, even though Kevin is already 24 years old. He often drives Kayla and her friends to their appointments. The family sees him as a kind of older brother to Kayla. At around 9:30 p.m., Kayla and Kevin visit a McDonald's in Antigua. Kevin waits in the car while Kayla goes in to order something to eat. There she meets Beth, a friend who works at the restaurant. Kayla and Beth chat briefly and agree to talk on the phone later. But that phone call will never happen. The next morning, Kayla's father, James, calls her mother. He tells Hope that Kayla has not come home again overnight. Unsure of what to do, Hope first calls Kayla's friends, but no one knows where she is. Kevin Kilcheski is only able to reach her after a while via text message. He writes to Hope that he dropped Kayla off on a one-way street in Warsaw the night before. Kevin can't remember the exact address. Hope and James do something they will blame themselves for years later. The two do nothing and wait. Just 2 days earlier, they had wanted to file a missing person report with the police, and shortly thereafter, Kayla had gotten in touch. The two hope that the same thing will happen again. But the hoped-for phone call or any other sign of life from Kayla does not come. It is not until 5 or 6 days later, on August 16th or 17th, that Hope and James report their 15-year-old daughter, Kayla Berg, missing. The authorities initially believe Kayla is a classic runaway. This is especially because she has often slept elsewhere recently without telling anyone. Her friends are questioned, but they say they only made vague statements, as if they were hiding something from the investigators. However, as more and more days pass without any contact with Kayla, the police reconsider the runaway theory. On August 20th, 2009, an official investigation is launched. By this point, 9 days have already passed. Kevin Kilcheski is the first person to be questioned by the police. After all, he's the last person to have seen Kayla. Kevin tells the police that Kayla asked him to drop her off at her boyfriend Miguel's house on the evening of August 11th. So he drove her to Warsaw and dropped her off at Miguel's address on Highway 52. The house is about a 40-minute drive from Antigua. However, Kevin also says that he did not see Kayla actually go into the house. All the lights were off and it looked like no one was home. This statement is interesting to investigators for 2 reasons. First, because Kevin had told Hope that he couldn't remember exactly where he dropped Kayla off. Second, because Miguel no longer lives on Highway 52, and Kayla knows that. Just a week earlier, she had been at a party at Miguel's new apartment. So why would she have asked Kevin to drop her off at her on-again, off-again boyfriend's old address? It is unclear whether the two even drove to Warsaw that evening. There is no data to support this. Neither surveillance footage nor Kevin's cell phone location history provide any clues. In October 2009, Kevin is charged with second-degree reckless endangerment because he admitted to using marijuana with Kayla. This confession allows for charges of endangerment and further investigation. In the same month, the house in Deerbrook where Kevin lives with his parents is searched. Investigators are looking for clues to Kayla's disappearance. However, at this point, about 2 months have already passed. Theoretically, that would be enough time for important evidence to disappear. The police also confiscate Kevin's car, but Kevin is not the only one under investigation. Kayla's boyfriend Miguel is also being scrutinized. According to his GPS data, he was in Lincoln County twice during the night of August 11th to 12th, 2009. The area is subsequently searched by the police. However, they find nothing. Kayla's mother, Hope, later says in interviews that Miguel never contacted the family after Kayla's disappearance. She still finds this strange, even though Kayla was just taking a break from her relationship with Miguel at the time of her disappearance. When the police analyzed Miguel's cell phone data, they would naturally like to ask him about his visits to Lincoln County. However, Miguel refuses to make any statement. While that is his right, it is extremely frustrating for the investigators. A few sources say that his car was searched and a few items were confiscated. However, it has not been disclosed what exactly was found. Since Miguel was never officially suspected or charged, it was probably nothing related to Kayla. Instead, the police are continuing to focus on Kevin for the time being. In 2011, Kevin's parents' property is searched again. So is a potato farm where Kevin worked at times. Cadaver dogs are also used. In the same year, however, the charges against Kevin are dropped due to lack of evidence. Kayla's mother still blames herself and feels partly responsible for her daughter's disappearance. And of course, Hope wonders what could have happened to her daughter. It is well known that Kayla and Kevin used marijuana. Hope fears that Kevin may have given Kayla other drugs and that she may have overdosed. Kevin may have panicked and made Kayla disappear. However, Kevin is never charged with a crime against Kayla again after 2011, and for several years, the case goes quiet. Until 2016, when the ominous video surfaces. When the video you saw at the beginning went viral, Kayla's case became known overnight. And for a short time, the investigators' focus also changed. The video was published in October 2009, 2 months after Kayla's disappearance. At the time, no one was interested. But suddenly it received hundreds of thousands of views. The clip is disturbing, regardless of whether the woman in the video is really Kayla or not. The police are called in, and YouTube takes the video offline. The police department responsible begins investigating and searching for the creator of the video. The video was uploaded to a channel called Hi Walter. The caption simply reads, "My videos to Walter, the friend who apparently can't find me." Kayla's mother, Hope, is terrified when she sees the video. But she also feels hope, because even she believes that the girl in the video is her daughter. She says the girl looks and sounds just like Kayla. What's more, the clothes look similar to those Kayla was last seen wearing. In an interview, Hope says, "She sounded like her, looked like her. It made me shudder. It's hard to explain. The first thought is, that's my daughter. But I don't know. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's fake. My God, it could be someone else's child or a missing loved one. Or if it's fake, that person has an extremely sick sense of humor." And Hope's suspicions turn out to be correct. The police are able to track down the producer of the video. He is able to credibly assure them that the video is a tasteless joke. The video led the investigation in the wrong direction and wasted numerous resources that could have been invested elsewhere. On the other hand, the video drew attention to a case that had already been almost forgotten. Her mother says, "I guess the only advantage I got out of it was the worldwide coverage. Her name became known around the world and very quickly. Otherwise, it was a nightmare, a living nightmare." So the video has nothing to do with Kayla's disappearance. The only positive thing the video achieved was to raise awareness of Kayla's case. However, to this day, no one knows what happened to her. It has never been determined whether Kevin really dropped her off at Miguel's old address. It's not just Kayla's mysterious disappearance that gives pause for thought, but also the video that led investigators down the wrong track. Sure, the creator didn't know the context and just wanted to upload a harmless sketch to YouTube. He couldn't have known that years later it would be linked to a criminal case and cause such a stir. And it wasn't a crime. Nevertheless, the whole thing provides food for discussion. Is it morally okay to upload such sketches without a disclaimer? Or should we be more sensitive when dealing with such topics? I would be very interested to hear your opinion on the matter. Feel free to write your thoughts in the comments. And please let me know what you think about Kayla Berg's disappearance. If I've forgotten any information, feel free to write it in the comments. By the way, you'll also be supporting the channel because any interaction, whether it's a like, comment, or subscription, increases the likelihood that the video will be recommended to people who haven't subscribed to Insolito yet. Thank you in advance. Other than that, there's not much else to say. Thank you in advance. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Until then, bye everyone.